Welcome to today's episode of How the Game Was Won. And today we are visiting the European Club Cup. That's the 31st European Club Cup of 2015, and this specific game was played on the 19th of October 2015. And we've got Babula with the white pieces and Giri with the black pieces. And even though there's a 250 point rating difference between the two, obviously Giri with the black should be the on-paper favorite to take the game really easily. But bearing in mind that when you are a Super Grandmaster up at almost 2,800 rating, all of the games that you're playing are going to be analyzed in depth by lower ranked players, even if they happen to be Grandmasters. Whereas if you are Anish Giri at just under 2,800, you will not be analyzing all of the games that Vlastimil Babula at 2,550 happens to be playing. So therefore the 250 rating point difference can in a way also be a negative. But without further ado, let's see how this game transpired. We're beginning with d4, e6, c4, d5, knight c3, bishop e4, knight f3, d takes c4, e3, b5, a4, c6. And we've got bishop d2, a5, a takes b, bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, c takes b5, b3, bishop b7, b takes c4, b4, and bishop b2. And so far we are very much within very well known theory of the semi-Slav variation of the Queen's Gambit declined. Obviously Black has those two very dangerous looking pass pawns on the Queen's side, as White, by way of compensation, has the solid mass of central pawns. So, and it's one of the more sort of exciting and imbalanced openings within the game of chess. But without further ado, we continue. Knight f6, bishop d3, castles kingside, knight b to d7, knight d2, queen c7. Here, for example, Giri could have, for instance, continued with e5, f4, e takes d4, e takes d4, rook e8, d5, knight c5, and bishop c2. It's an incredibly different, but also very interesting kind of position. But be that as may, Giri played queen c7. Babula answered with f4, which obviously prevents Black from hitting the square with the pawn push, for instance, of e5. But at the same time, it's left the g2 square fairly soft, and Black can advance his queenside majority, which otherwise would have been impossible. But the g2 square remains a vulnerable point as far as the white position is concerned. Black continues a4, rook b1, with the alternative being rook a4, which isn't that good, which leads to queen c6, which is really solid for Black. We've got rook b1, queen d6, queen e2, rook f to d8, e4, knight c5, and Anish is on the right track at the moment, navigating his way around with his usual position. We've got e4, e5, queen c6, d takes c5, rook d3, e takes an f6, rook a to d8, knight f3, queen c5, check, king h1. Now, here you can see that Black is already a piece down, but he's got excellent compensation for that. I mean, white's center is completely demolished, and the A and B passed pawns are still on board. Now, bearing in mind that the piece that I mentioned that black is down, the compensation for that is the activity within his position. Should black elect to play any moves that reduce or diminish the momentum of his attack, that additional piece that white has in his arsenal will come back to haunt black in a big way. And here, here Giri plays, Anish plays B3, which immediately blocks the advance of his own queenside pawn. And now the extra piece will start making itself felt that white has at his disposal. For instance, instead of B3, if black had played, for instance, A3 would lead to bishop E5, B3, F takes on G7, Queen E3, and then black has excellent chances. But with B3 allows for rook B to D1, which, as I mentioned, leaves black with effectively blocking his own queenside pawn advance. You've got rook on 3 to D6, bishop E5, rook D1, rook takes on D1, queen A5, knight D4, G6, H3, queen B6, king H2, H6, C5, queen A6. Again here, for instance, Giri could have played queen takes on C5 with knight E6 as a possibility, but after queen A6 we've got C6, queen E2, knight takes on E2, rook takes on D1, C takes on B7, rook takes on D8, knight takes on C3, superb move there. For instance, the other alternative, which would be a much more weakening move, but much more obvious for the most of us, would have been to queen on the B8 square, with rook takes B8, bishop takes B8, B2, knight C3, and A3, and once again the advantage swings back in black's favor, with those menacing passes sitting on the A and B files now able to activate themselves once more. But Babula played knight C3, which allowed A3, knight B5, A2, knight D6, rook B8, H4, and the sad part of the story is that the black king will not be able to participate in the battle because he's being completely hemmed in by the combination of the white pawn covering the F7 and E7 squares, and the white knight covering the E8 square, means that there's no ways for that black king to be able to get out and assist those pawns that are now sitting looking very tenuous at best on those A to B3 squares. The game continued with king H7 and white pushes G4, and what is incredibly clear within this position at the moment is we've got the black rook stuck on that B8 square, we've got the white knight that is covering the B7 pawn, and the black king is stuck way behind its own pawns with no chance of being able to get out and help anything. And all that's now going to be happening is the white king will gradually make its way across the board, mop up the 2 pawns that are left there, and that will be effectively the end of the game. Anish, being the sharp 2800 player that he is, could see exactly where this was going, and in this position he resigned the game. Vlastimil Babula picks up not only the win, but no doubt a whole pocket full of rating points to push himself up the 3-day classification table. So that, my friends, is how this game was won. Please feel free to share this video out amongst all of your chess friends. Don't forget, thumbs up if you like the content, thumbs down if not, and also let me know down in the comment section down below any comments, questions, criticisms that you may have, anything that you can suggest that will help to make these videos better for you in the days, weeks and months coming up ahead. And last but by no means least, if you're watching this in YouTube, take a look down just below the video screen is a big red subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button, that way you stay subscribed to my channel for all the new content that comes out on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Stay carved up for the win out there. I'll see you next time for another episode of How the Game Was Won. Till then.